As soon as I know who my opponent is, I put him on my wallpaper. So I'm looking at him at all times. He's the only thing I'm thinking about. So originally the idea of me starting MMA was me pretty much finding an outlet to getting out of the streets. I was born and raised in Spanish Harlem in Manhattan. And my mom wanted me to kind of channel a lot of anger that I had growing up. You know, I was getting kicked out of a lot of schools for beating up on bullies, and you know, I had a lot of anger that I grew up around. And I guess being a product of a gun-toting, gang-banging, drug-dealing kind of neighborhood, kind of, you know, eventually harnessed a lot of anger that I had over a period of time. My mom basically said, you know, why don't we do something together as a hobby? So we thought of martial arts right away, kickboxing, or something that was more like an active, dynamic kind of thing. So we did our research, walked into the gym. The rest was history. I fell in love with MMA after that, and it became my life. MMA kept me out of trouble in the sense that it just helped me to channel a lot of energy that I had, you know, and I tried to channel it in other ways too. I was big into music, big into art, drawing, and a lot of other things, but I kind of needed something a little bit more. To me, I think the moment I knew was after my first fight. That instance of feeling this gratification, this feeling of accomplishment, this first feeling of like a drug that I've never, you know, this first time I've ever felt this kind of excitement, this kind of validation in life. To me, after my first win, it felt like, man, like this is amazing, this is awesome. It felt like so much hard work and so many years of training then led up to this moment. So to me, it was like my first realization that hard work produces, you know, great outcomes. I think to me, that was a starting point of realizing that this is something I'd like to make a career for the rest of my life and commit my entire passion towards it. So in the first fight, you don't know what to expect. I remember the first thing that stood out to me was just this quietness, you know, that was stirring around in the rooms because all the fighters are nervous. You know, there's a lot of nerves that people they don't get to see. They don't see a lot of what happens at the back before we come out and we look the way we do. There's a lot of mental preparation, a lot of, you know, clicking things in the mind and get yourself fine-tuned and ready for combat. As a spectator, you see it as a sport. But to us as a fighter, we go out there as do or die. This is something that we're either gonna feel glorious about and we're gonna walk away feeling amazing, or we're gonna feel like this is death. This is as close to death as it's gonna feel. That's like in our minds, that's what it feels like. So there's such a heightened sense of everything. You just feel like the whole human spectrum when you're sitting back there right before a fight. Days before the fight, because usually we're camped out about a few days prior to a fight. You know, the UFC, we're set up and camped at the hotels. So I go through this darkness and light method. I close the blinds, I freeze the room, I encase myself in just darkness, and I just stay there. I think, I meditate. I try to also get in touch with my why, my reason for getting into fighting in the first place. That's another reason for being in the dark. I lock myself in there and I just spend days just in the darkness. After the weigh-ins and right before the fight, when I'm called to get out of the hotel to go towards the arena, I open the blinds, I warm up the room, and it's this first feeling of being human again, this first, you know, sense of light. It enters, and then you start to feel like this is the light at the end of the tunnel. This is what I worked so damn hard for. This is what I've sacrificed everything for. It's this very moment. Every day it's your life. Even on your days off, it's still your life, because what you do on your time off still plays a factor in your conditioning, you know, into a fight. It's 3 times a day that you're training about. So there's a combination of several factors to be able to, you know, get you through 2 months of training that often. It's one is your diet, second is your ability to recover, and third is sleep. You have to be able to sustain that amount of brutality on your body without injuries. That's the other thing, is that there's just so much of a likelihood of an injury because you're training so often that you have to be able to, you know, all right, like I'm pushing too hard, you gotta kind of ride the wave a little bit. And that takes the experience of a fighter. You know, it takes doing it for a long time to kind of know how to ride the wave and listen to your body, which is something I've had trouble with doing. I'm the type where I'm sick, I'll still train. If I'm hurt, I'll still train. I let motivate me all the time. All the bad in life, you know, it's a matter of what you do with things at the end of the day. You know, you could take a bad experience, but take a negative and turn it to a positive. You know, so I do that every time, but it happens long before the fight itself. It's all about the camp, the 2 months before the fight. You remember, all right, this last fight that I had wasn't the outcome that we wanted. What could we have done better? What could we do different? You know, so everything actually happens during the camp. And in your head, you're just thinking, like, you remember that feeling. You either remember the feeling of greatness, or you have that feeling of just that bitterness that stays in you. And for me, that bitterness always drives me. I've always been motivated by negative things in life. I grew up around a lot of negativity growing up as a kid, but it was my godsend at the same time, because those are all the things that made me become accomplished and successful in life. I commit everything to a fight. Every drop of who I am and my being is for that fight. And that's why in every fight, because there's so much of you involved in it, it changes you. Every fight to me, aside from fighting, if I step back, it feels like it's a transformative kind of thing that you go through. Fighting is one of those things that just changes you as a man. It carves you out, it feels like, you know? And every fight to me felt like there was just a bit of a transformation that you go through. The preparation of going out there and conquering your nerves and your fears and all of your doubts and everything. I feel like with every fight, it was just a slow transformation to make yourself into a much tougher, much more better person every time. You know, my other passion is teaching, of course, so that's my ability to give back. I always say that fighting is a selfish act, as it should be, because fighting is about your diet, your training, about putting all distractions aside. You don't hang out, you don't socialize, it's just, everything is for your fight. So it's a selfish thing, as it should be. And then teaching is selfless. You give to others, and it gives you enough confidence in yourself to be able to want other people to be as good as you, you know, and to bring other people up. So my plan B is always on that, you know, teaching and giving back to others. I think there's one of two things that will kind of let me know when it's time. One is my body, just not being able to take, you know, the punishment anymore, or the moment you wake up from bed in the morning and your heart's just not in it anymore. And it's one of those two things for me, I think, is when I'll call it. I think, I don't know, I think as soon as I'm able to see and assess a fight and be like, you know, physically I'm just not moving the way, you know, the way I used to. Once you kind of go back and then you look time forward and the difference in your movement, your speed and your power and everything, you have to be able to evaluate and kind of just look at yourself and say like, all right, maybe it's time, you know, but I don't feel that I'm there yet. I have so much more that I want to accomplish and a whole road ahead of me still. I like uniformity, so I don't like little things and patches and stuff. If we're gonna do something, we do it big and we do a whole theme. So I kind of want to stick to the whole armor theme. You know, it also symbolizes my strength, you know, the armor that I've had to have in life to be able to be strong and endure. So here I have a raven. You know, I was talking about transformations. Everything in my life is about transformations, and a raven is symbolic. You know, I feel like almost like the black bird who flies in the light, you know, in the sun. The whole theme is medieval. It's all like Spartan armor. So you got the chainmail on the inside. There's a wolf that I have my forearm, symbolizes loyalty. I've been loyal to my team. I'm loyal to everything that my heart is poured into, you know, without fail. I have Latin on my forearm as well. Basically just means that through the gates of fire, I rise from the ashes. All things that were meant to burn me in life are things that actually built me and made me a better person, a much stronger person. Got the cross here, symbolizing my religion. I grew up in a Catholic upbringing, believe it or not. The second thing I think was my chest. I had the skull, and basically it's pretty self-explanatory, you know. I think once you accept the fact that your time in this planet is short, to help you remember that every day live your life to its fullest. Live your life to be happy, you know, follow your dreams, follow your heart, because one day, you know, it's your time. But until then, like, live every single day as if it's your last, you know. So that's always a constant reminder of that. I have my whole back tattooed. Got a dragon tattoo. Got the thunderbolt running through it. My hand tattoo. It's the eye with the chaos compass. And all that means is in all directions in life that I've been taken through and every possible outcome in my life, I'm able to see through everything. I see through chaos, basically. I have good vision through things. No matter where you throw me, I'll see my way through it. And then the last one I just got recently is actually this feather tattoo right here. It's a little filler, but this was not planned. This is actually an important one, actually. It came at a time in my life where I was reminded to live free, to follow your heart, and to pursue what it is that makes you truly happy in this world. And then once you find it, the sword in between it means that I'll do everything that it takes to protect it.